The film opens in 1930 in Jericho, a remote and dusty town in Texas located approximately 50 miles from the Mexican border. Two rival factions, the Italian mob led by Fredo Strozzi and the Irish mob under the command of Mr. Doyle, are engaged in a fierce struggle for dominance over a lucrative smuggling route. Law enforcement has largely abandoned efforts to maintain order, and the current sheriff, Ed Galt, seems to be profiting from the ensuing chaos. John Smith, a self-identified loner devoid of a moral compass, arrives in Jericho and quickly stirs trouble by casting a glance at Felina, Doyle's girlfriend. This action attracts the attention of Doyle's enforcer, Finn, who confronts him. Following a brief exchange of insults, Finn vandalizes Smith's vehicle, shattering the windshield and slashing the tires, before coolly directing him to the sheriff. At the sheriff's office, Smith finds no assistance. Galt and his taciturn deputy, Bob, remain uninvolved. Galt merely advises him to procure a firearm. Smith then visits the local saloon, which is empty save for the bartender, Joe Monday. After consuming a drink, he arms himself and proceeds to Doyle's headquarters to confront Finn. When he demands restitution, Finn draws his weapon first. However, Smith swiftly shoots him dead and wreaks havoc in the establishment. The other gang members do not retaliate. Shortly thereafter, Strozzi extends an invitation to Smith to join his crew, offering him accommodation at the Italian-run hotel and complimentary meals. During his stay, Smith encounters Strozzi's captivating girlfriend, Lucy, and learns about Doyle's feared enforcer, Hickey. At a group dinner for Strozzi's men, Giorgio, Strozzi's hot-tempered cousin, arrives late and immediately takes a disliking to Smith. Disenchanted by Strozzi's ineffective leadership and Giorgio's demeanor, Smith returns to the saloon, expressing his growing frustration with their incompetence. That evening, while in the company of a prostitute named Wanda, Smith becomes the target of an ambush orchestrated by the Irish mob. Despite his circumstances, he successfully eliminates both assailants. It is revealed that Wanda was coerced into betraying him, leaving her in a state of distress, which leads Smith to render her unconscious. Subsequently, he discovers that she was blackmailed into her actions and allows her to be taken into custody by Sheriff Galt. Shortly thereafter, Strozzi calls Smith to a secluded desert location at a roadside diner, where they strategize an ambush for Doyle's upcoming shipment from Mexico. Upon the convoy's arrival at the border, Smith is tasked with negotiating with the Mexican commander, Ramirez. He offers a bribe to Ramirez to turn against Doyle's men, resulting in the Mexicans violently dispatching the Irish guards. Later, Smith orchestrates Wanda's release from prison, provides her with bus fare, and ensures her safe departure from the town. He also informs Sheriff Galt about the convoy ambush and learns more about Hickey's notorious reputation. Back in Lucy's room, Smith compensates her for information regarding Strozzi and engages in seduction. Soon after, Doyle and his associate Jack attempt to recruit Smith for the assassination of Strozzi, believing his insider knowledge makes him the perfect candidate. Smith shows hesitation, which Doyle misinterprets as a rejection. Opting to play both sides, Smith resigns from Strozzi's crew. Infuriated, Strozzi threatens him with a firearm, asserting that nobody quits me. Smith confronts Giorgio and faces Strozzi in a high-stakes standoff, ultimately leading Strozzi to relent, acknowledging that Giorgio is not worth dying for. Smith remains discreet for several days, striving to maintain his sobriety while awaiting Hickey's arrival. During this period, he learns from a local mechanic that Giorgio has been investigating him, attempting to uncover his secrets. To manipulate the situation, Smith provides Giorgio with misleading information, cautioning him to be cautious of Ramirez in case of another betrayal. Giorgio takes the bait and travels to Mexico. Subsequently, Smith informs the Irish mob that Giorgio will be meeting with the same Mexicans who previously deceived them and stole their trucks. He receives payment for this information while still refraining from aligning himself with either gang. Eventually, Hickey arrives in Jericho and immediately harbors distrust towards Smith. Hickey then journeys to Mexico, barges into a cantina, and kills both Ramirez and a border patrol officer before capturing Giorgio. Meanwhile, Smith meets Felina in an abandoned church, where she recounts her story to him. Back in Jericho, Texas Ranger Captain Pickett arrives and cautions both Smith and Sheriff Galt that he is investigating the murder of the Border Patrol agent. He announces his intention to return in 10 days with reinforcements and states that he will permit only one gang to operate in the town, not two. He also demands that Smith leave before that time. Hickey returns with a proposition for Strozzi, $100,000 and the stolen trucks in exchange for Giorgio. During the exchange, Strozzi attempts to gain an advantage by capturing Felina and suggesting a trade, Giorgio for Felina. Smith observes silently as the transaction unfolds. Tensions escalate, making war unavoidable. Later, Lucy confides in Smith, disclosing that Strozzi and Giorgio discovered her affair with him and brutally assaulted her, even mutilating her ear. Moved by her account, Smith gives her $500 and advises her to take the next bus out of town. He then accepts Doyle's earlier offer, but only with a $1,000 upfront payment. To instill fear, Smith claims he has heard a rumor that Strozzi is bringing in additional gunmen that night, suggesting that Felina may be in danger once more. Doyle instructs Smith to go to a secure location where Felina is being held under strict surveillance. Smith confidently enters through the main door, immediately raising suspicion. Without delay, he opens fire, eliminating everyone present. He rescues Felina, places her in a vehicle, and urges her to drive across the border. Before departing, she gifts him her cross as a memento. Although Smith understands the necessity of disappearing, he opts to remain behind to personally inform Doyle of the situation. The following morning, Doyle arrives and accepts Smith's account that Felina was taken. He is devastated, but Hickey remains skeptical. Back in Jericho, Smith cleans himself and takes a bath. Hickey soon arrives with troubling news. Someone has seen Felina across the border, where she sold the car. They search Smith's room and discover her cross. Smith is taken to a basement in Doyle's hideout, where Jack and Hickey brutally assault him while Doyle rants about how he rescued Felina from destitution. Realizing that Smith will not divulge any information, they leave him for dead. The next day, two thugs return, but Smith has disappeared. He ambushes them from within a metal cabinet, using one as a shield while he fires at the other. Smith manages to escape and evade the Irish search teams, hiding in a saloon behind walls of ice. Later, Smith relays information to Sheriff Galt, who informs Doyle that Smith is hiding at Slim's Roadhouse in the desert, fully aware that the Italians are actually concealed there. Doyle's men set the building ablaze and shoot anyone attempting to flee. Even as Strozzi and Giorgio plead for mercy and promise to leave town, they are executed without hesitation. The Irish believe Smith has died in the fire. Smith seeks refuge in an abandoned church to heal from his wounds. Joe visits him daily with food and medical supplies, but eventually, the Irish mob discovers their location and captures Joe, subjecting him to violence. Sheriff Galt locates Smith and informs him of Joe's kidnapping. Meanwhile, Hickey and Doyle remain in Mexico, searching for Felina. Smith borrows Galt's firearm and heads to the old hotel, which was once Strozzi's stronghold and is now where Joe is imprisoned. On his way, he retrieves his lucky hat and stops at the Undertaker's shop, one of his few remaining allies in Jericho. Smith assaults the hotel with ruthless efficiency, his gunfire sending enemies flying like rag dolls. He pursues Jack upstairs into a room where Joe is bound. Joe signals to him, and Smith shoots through a cabinet, killing Jack, who is hiding inside. Although wounded, Smith cleans his gunshot wound with whiskey. Before departing, he leaves a Tommy gun at the door as a warning for Hickey and informs Galt that he will be at Slim's Roadhouse. As the town descends into chaos, Galt makes his way to Houston, and even the Undertaker plans to leave. Smith and Joe return to the charred remains of the Roadhouse to wait. At dawn, Doyle, Hickey, and Bob arrive, with Joe concealed nearby. Doyle, infatuated and eager to find Felina, suggests a truce. However, Joe reveals himself and shoots Doyle dead, unable to overlook the destruction wrought upon their town. Bob raises his shotgun, prompting Smith to eliminate him. Hickey discards his weapon and retreats, unwilling to perish on Texan soil. He questions Smith about shooting an unarmed man in the back, to which Smith responds that he has committed worse acts. Hickey then attempts to draw a concealed pistol, but Smith acts swiftly, shooting him in the head. Ultimately, Smith retrieves Felina's cross from Doyle's corpse, enters a vehicle, and drives away, continuing his solitary journey.